My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And this is the Defensive Player of the Week. And I'm pleased to have on, with the help of Coach Masters from Simsbury, the Simsbury Trojans, a senior defensive lineman, Garrett Dagenet. Garrett, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Obviously, the numbers you've been putting up this season are, and it's funny because when you think about it, a lot of times when I see articles written or people talk, they only talk about the offense. They never mention the defense. And the numbers you've been putting up this season are just kind of like my favorite player and my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, with Micah Parsons. What he's doing is just ungodly. What you're
Mm.
doing is equivalent to that in some ways. Do you ever like think of that in a way, man?
Well, before I never really thought about it like that. But then a bunch of my teammates were like, these, like, um, during the Maloney game, I had 16 tackles, 4 TFLs, and 2 blocked passes. And my coaches and teammates were like, that is not like a natural thing for a defense player to get, especially not a lineman.
Hmm.
So I mean, after that, I started thinking about it more, and then obviously it happened again at Connor. Had a really good game. So
Yeah, no, and Coach Masters mentioned that to me because before he told me you were a defensive lineman, he told me how many tackles and all that. And I was like, okay, he must be like a linebacker because that kind of makes sense. But
mhm.
then he's like, no, he's a defensive lineman. I was like, oh, how? Like, no, but and I didn't mean that in a disrespectful way.
No,
I
yeah,
just was thinking to myself, he's got to be like, first, he's probably exhausted. And second, he's got to be running like all over the field, just wanting to get tackles. I mean,
yeah.
does that kind of like get through your head at all when you're doing that?
Um, I mean, it doesn't like it's not something that bothers me, but and usually I don't find myself too tired. But I'm definitely like flying out there.
Hmm.
I'll I'm a lot faster than most like typical D linemen. I'm not as big, but I can move around. I can move the offensive linemen around. And I think just a lot of the offensive linemen don't expect me to be like as explosive or as fast. And that gives me the edge on them. And then it also gives me the edge on quarterbacks who just aren't expecting that type of rush from a lineman.
Now, what's the size? I mean, give me the dynamics here. You said you're not that tall, so what are you?
Yeah.
Six, like six what? Five what? What
I
what
am
are you?
I'm about like 5'10" and a half.
Okay, so do you have long arms, short arms? What are you?
I I'd say I have pretty average arms, pretty average arm
Okay.
lengths.
So even though you don't have the size, the average arm length is maybe a little bit shorter than some D linemen, as we see
Hmm.
obviously in the college game and obviously the pro game. You
Yeah.
have the speed aspect that it sounds like to get by offensive linemen, which not every
Hmm.
offensive lineman is quick on foot. And then the
Yeah.
quarterbacks, which are very athletic, especially now the way the game is changing, they're not anticipating a fast defensive lineman. What says you?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
And sometimes,
yeah,
sometimes I may even be as fast as the quarterback. You can just run him down.
really.
Yeah.
Do you feel like okay, which part brings you more joy? Being able to bull rush or chasing after the quarterback and then getting the TFL? Which one's more fun
Definitely,
for you?
definitely chasing after a quarterback and getting a TFL.
Now, why is that?
I don't just like the I don't know. I feel like I get more of a rush from that and
Mhm.
more like triumph when you do it.
Is it kind of like the chase, kind of like you're wanting to get it, and then once you get it, rather than it being so easy as just going
Yeah.
straight, right?
It's like it's more unexpected
Mhm.
to happen than just bull rushing in it.
Now, is that something that you've always been able to do? I mean, how long have you been on the varsity level for Simsbury?
So obviously we lost our my sophomore year.
Mhm.
So obviously I wasn't on varsity then, but I played last year and I had started off the season at middle linebacker, but then they ended up changing me to D lineman. And so I went in on one package that we did. And my first game, I got 2 back-to-back sacks. And so from then on, I started playing more and more, and now I'm here.
So when you got the back-to-back sacks, who was the most hyped? Was it the defensive coordinator or was it Masters?
I think it was Masters.
I could
Yeah,
picture that. I could definitely picture that.
yeah.
So, what was the reason for switching you from linebacker to basically being on the line? Was it because of your speed and because of what you could do?
I think it was a mix of that and that year we had a lot of we just had a lot of kids at linebacker. So they were trying to move people around, see like the best position for who. And it just ended up that I got put there and it worked out really well.
Now, with you having the ability with the speed that you have, has there been moments where they've dropped you in coverage or maybe they've, pre-snap, they've shown, let's say a 3-4 or 4-3,
Mhm.
but then post-snap, you drop back? Not saying you cover, but just to kind of confuse the quarterbacks. Have they done that at all with you or no?
They haven't, but I feel like that'd be an interesting thing to put in. Definitely.
I'm just thinking that because again, I watch Dallas and I see them not so much this year with Micah because he's been mainly doing what he does, which is going after quarterbacks, but they did
Hmm.
that with him last year a little bit. So I'm kind of thinking now as the game changes and we're seeing the Jalen Hurts and the Kyler Murrays and all those guys who
Yeah.
can run, I feel like the athletes, you need to have a line or not so much a linebacker, but you need to have linemen who are almost just as fast, kind of like hybrids. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I mean, obviously quarterbacks are going from like big guys who stay in the pocket and just throw to like your Lamar Jacksons who are basically just another running back on the field.
But with a better arm,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some days,
Yeah.
some days, not every week, although some
Yeah.
weeks Lamar looks great, other weeks not so much, you know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
So, as this season has progressed, to get back to the high school side,
Hmm.
I know it's been a little bit tough for the Trojans, 2 and 3. You guys are
Yeah.
on a bye week this week. But being able to come away with some wins late before the bye, do you feel
Hmm.
like you guys and mainly yourself kind of have uh maybe a better feeling going into the bye than maybe how it started in the first couple weeks?
Yeah, definitely. We started off with a pretty bad game, honestly. And I think that made us realize like there's a lot of stuff that we had to work on. And so as the weeks have gone on, we've just been picking stuff up, putting things together, like finding out who's best to be put in. And I think we're getting a rhythm going now that hopefully we can carry on the rest of the season.
I will admit to go up against North Haven the first week is never easy because the offense that they run in, I think they're a triple option, right? Or no?
Um,
I don't remember.
I don't know. I think they were single wing or
A
something or
single
double
wing.
wing.
It
Yeah.
was I felt like it was
It
one of those
was
run-based offenses.
Yeah, it was awful for a D lineman.
Well, that's the thing, and I think again, it's one thing like, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like if you played them now or later in the
Mhm.
season, maybe it would be better because preparing for that the first week,
Yeah.
especially the way that those kids, which they run it so perfectly, they're
Mhm.
led to do it kind of like Ansonia. They run the hammer formation from the time they're born, you
Yeah.
know? They just do it so perfectly. It was like you said, a bad matchup. It was one of those games, okay, whatever. But it seemed
Mhm.
like from that point on, you guys started even in the couple losses you had after, it seemed like things were getting a little bit better. What says you?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something that I don't think I've never experienced, and I think a lot of people had never experienced something like that. And so, yeah, I think just that gave us like that picture that okay, we need to do this, this, and this to get
Mhm.
better, to be able to beat that team and that team, and yeah,
Now, have because of what you've done defensively, does it ever cross your mind? Because okay, one week it's like, okay, you know what, the kid had a good week. You've been doing it basically since the season has started, and you've been
yeah,
showing it. Do
hmm,
you realize that going into every week from here on out, and even in previous weeks before coming on here, that defensive coordinators are game planning I'm sure they're game planning other people, but I can
yeah,
almost guarantee when they're watching the film and they're showing it to the offensive linemen and to the quarterbacks and the rest of the offensive staff, they're circling you every time. Like, we need to stop him
hmm,
every single time.
yeah.
Has that crossed your mind at all?
I'm pretty sure after Maloney, coach had brought it up and was like, "Hey, you need to be ready for these teams are going to be targeting you, double teaming you every play or whatever." So yeah, it's been something in my mind, thinking about how I'm gonna have to deal with that. But I also think that it's something that you can't necessarily prepare for from my side and from their side, and that you just have to see what happens when the game comes.
Well, like you said too, the speed that you have, you can't it's one thing to have a practice and maybe, I don't know, have like a wide receiver, I guess, but to try to replicate the speed, but the strength that you have on top of the speed, unless you see it, it's very hard to practice for that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where unless you see it during the game, again, it's hard to be able to get to that. Um,
Mhm.
but to go back to that really quick too, do you feel like the double teams? I mean, have you seen a lot more double or even triple teams since what you did
Yeah,
with Maloney?
I've definitely I definitely find myself getting double team or triple team a lot. So doing stunts and stuff for the D line really helps to just like avoid those, or like going outside and then just giving me just that beeline to the quarterback to avoid that kind of stuff really works well.
When you've had the double or triple teams, and let's say they're trying to go outside, right?
Mhm.
Has it been difficult to kind of control the edge? Because I know a lot of times if you're being basically with a double team, it's hard to get to that edge and really control that side.
It can be, but at the same time, sometimes it's just they take too long to try to get outside, and then I can get the leverage over them. But
Mhm.
if they have someone like far outside of me just coming in to crash down, then that's what makes it hard.
Have your teammates been able to capitalize with all the focus on you as far as, with everything being on you, that gives opportunities for other guys to go and eat. Have they been able to do that?
I would definitely say so because I think we have a very strong defensive line and linebackers, but I think our D line is probably the best quality of our team and as our defense. And there are a lot of dogs on that on that line that could definitely go after the quarterback and make plays.
Now, as you enter the bye week, as I said, you're 2-3. This is kind of like the woosah kind of week. Allow things to, hopefully the coaches get some sleep, although I doubt it. You guys are at least able to get some rest, heal up, and get to that second half because the second half of the season flies by just like the first half.
Yeah.
And with you guys being in a little bit more of a difficult spot, already having a couple losses, you need being in Class O, especially. Now, there's still opportunities if teams eat up, eat against each other, and because a lot of teams are in the FCAC and whatever. Um,
Hmm.
do you feel like that you just, only, you can only focus on what's in front of you and not focus on anything else, just focus on the week to week basis?
Yeah, I think you have to focus on the week to week, but also being able to look at what you did in the past and how you can improve on that and build off that. So we had a couple pretty hard games to start our season, but so we have to take what we learned from those and apply it to the teams we have left.
Yeah, because I mean, you got Manchester Hall, Newington, East Hartford, Glastonbury, all very good teams, very competitive. Newington, I saw at one point was ahead against Maloney, and I know Maloney ended up
Mm.
finding a way to get away with that game, and pardon me, come away with the win. But
Yeah.
Newington, even though they're struggling, competitive. Same thing with the other programs as well. Do you feel like with the games that you have left, not going to say like, oh, do you think you can win them? That's a dumb question. But do you feel like that those games, regardless of whatever outcome it is, as far as playoffs, that you guys will be battle tested and ready if the playoffs are there at the end?
Oh, 100%. I think if we just are able to execute all our stuff, we have plenty of skill on a team, but if we get that execution down, then I don't think it's a problem getting to the playoffs.
Now, I got to ask too before I let you go, and Gary, I really do appreciate you coming on. The numbers that
Hmm.
you're putting up with all the tackles for loss, I mean, even punt blocking. I saw you did that in
Yeah.
the previous game from what Coach Masters was telling me. Um, it's amazing to me that you're not getting the attention as far as from colleges or anything. It could be the size, maybe potentially, but even then, still, even if you were to play Division 3 with your speed and what you could do, that would be perfect. I mean, I think of like the
Yeah.
NESCAC. That'd be a perfect spot potentially. Like, why hasn't there been any sort of attention to you? Because I feel like that's crazy that there isn't.
Um, I don't know. Maybe there just hasn't been I don't know, enough coverage on it or enough time for it to set in, something like that. I'm really not sure.
Has there been times that you've thought about that, even with the numbers that you're putting up? Maybe not during the game, but after the games. Has that crossed your mind at all?
Um, well, I mean, I think I had pretty decent numbers last year as well. And then I think the Maloney game in week 2 was probably the best game I've ever played, or before Connor, and I think Connor beat it. But so after that, I mean, there hasn't been anything since. So I'm just waiting.
I almost believe that at some point the numbers somebody will come across them or see them and be like, okay, I need to go down there. Like this isn't an anomaly. This is real.
Hmm.
And I feel like, oh, the only thing you can do, continue on dominating, continue on doing what you're doing to offensive linemen and quarterbacks. And at some point, somebody's going to be at a game. Because again, I've always believed this even when I played sports, back in the day. All it takes is one person to see you.
Yep.
And as soon as they see you, the world is your oyster. So, you know what
Hmm.
I mean?
Yep.
But
Definitely.
yeah, I appreciate you coming on. This was a lot of fun. Best of luck the rest of this season. And hopefully you get some opportunities as far as a college offer, at least someone to be able to give you that opportunity because I feel like a diamond in a rough potentially here, you know?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
No
you so
problem.
much.
I'll wrap things up here in the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. And where CT stands for Connecticut Talent, I'm Joey Find them all. Do the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.